Hey, Jared.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, Louisa.
Okay. Hello?
Hello, you can hear us?
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Come here, Sky. Get out, please.
Sorry. She's sorry.
No problem at all.
What's the screen?
Yeah. So feel free to mute or turn off your video until your item comes up, but we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
You guys need to get out here. Make it up, Sky.
Jared, looks like you're getting better at this. We've got labels next to our name now. Very impressive.
Gives me a little something to do right as we're getting ready to start.
You didn't have anything to do, right? Just sitting around twiddling your thumbs like usual. We know. I saw some photos of the cemetery next to the market basket, Clay Pit Cemetery, today on Facebook.
Yeah,
It looked beautiful back there.
I have not seen those photos.
Louisa, we can't hear you. Looked like you were trying to say something.
Yeah, I was just commenting on your remark. I said they have been clearing a lot back there, the monks.
Yeah, it was definitely definitely getting close to the the edge of the cemetery, the area of work. You could see dirt right up pretty close to the edge of it. It was closer to it than I expected it to be, but I guess
It's hard to get in there, but I did want to see what the line was between that and the Demoulas project.
Louisa, it looks like we have everyone accounted for except for Commissioner Lovely so far.
Okay. Just have to wait 4 minutes for our huge audience to arrive. How's everybody doing? Good?
Yeah, doing well.
Working home?
oh yeah. Looks like Weston's winning the got the most sun this summer contest.
It was literally just from the Monday. I was fortunate enough to go sailing with one of my friends, and we were just.
Oh, that'll give you a tan like nothing else.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun and a lot of sun. So, but I had not really been to the beach or anything otherwise.
Somewhere in the ocean?
It was in Boston Harbor, actually. We were
Wow.
out there. My friend actually has a mooring in South Boston, so it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. I've never been sailing.
I've been when I was young, very young, but I didn't realize that it was so much work. And on Monday, it was a rude awakening, I guess, because I was like, oh, we're gonna go, out on the water. It'll be relaxing.
You get a good workout?
And then you get a workout. Yeah, exactly. but it was a lot of fun. I think I got it down. So, um,
You can't
too
go
bad.
directly anywhere in a sailboat. Tack back and forth.
Yep, tack back and forth, exactly. So it was a good windy day though, so we were getting going pretty good.
Nice shirt, Bill.
Oh, is Bill here? Okay, I think it's close enough here by the time we get our notice out. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the September 9th, 2020 meeting of the Lowell Conservation Commission, and we're meeting via Zoom tonight. Our first order of business is a continuation from our last meeting, and it is an enforcement order given to Douglas Quist, 1345 Lawrence Street, and it involved tree cutting and leaving of the debris within the 100-foot buffer of bordering vegetated wetlands. We spoke with Mr. Quist last meeting, I believe it was, and he was going to see what he could do about removing some of the old material that had been dumped there. And apparently it's material that's been there a while. So what would you like to say about your efforts, Mr. Quist?
Hi. Yes, I was able to find a place close to home on Billrica Road in Chelmsford. And I was able to make 2 trips over there, but their yard is now currently full. And they're hoping to sell some of the wood chip sometime in September. So after that, I would be able to dispose of more of the logs. But yeah, currently I had to stop making trips over there.
Okay, so you've made some progress, and that sounds encouraging. Is there as much again that needs to be taken out, or have you made quite a dent in it?
I have a pile of logs back there, and then there's also the stumps from all these trees that I cut up, and then there's the leaf like grass clippings from all the years. I've been putting all my yard debris back there, as all my neighbors have. And so I knew I had to get it out of there eventually, but I haven't moved any over the years. But now I'm starting to. But there is still plenty of work to be done back there. So I am a little concerned about getting it finished before the winter.
Uh-huh. Well, most yard work is of that variety where, you just have to keep after it, and it's a lot of work, basically. So I do appreciate that you've made a start on that. Does anyone on the commission want to say something about this?
I'd just say that, there's been progress, and that's great. I think we should continue to maintain flexibility. We'll keep the enforcement order open and just get an update, as needed from Mr. Quist, depending on when he thinks he can make some further progress. Maybe continue, this discussion to maybe a meeting in October, and give him another month to try and get rid of that remaining material.
Okay, is that acceptable, Mr. Quist, that you call in the office probably in 4 to 6 weeks and give an update, and if there's anything to report, we can put you on the agenda for the next meeting after that. But we will keep it open and hope that you can at least draw some of that material back away from the bordering vegetated wetland if you can't actually remove it entirely from the property.
I appreciate your leniency with this situation. I do apologize for letting everything pile up for such a long time. But I also am happy to finally be removing all this stuff from my property. When I spoke with Community Tree, which is the company where I'm bringing the logs, that they told me they sell their wood chip for energy. So when natural gas is expensive, they sell a lot of their chips. So usually the yard doesn't fill up. So my only apprehension is that they're not going to open their yard up again this season. They may not move the wood chip as they want to. And all the other businesses that I looked into were much more expensive. So I'm kind of at the whim of this business. I need them to sell their chip so I can get rid of it. And once they open the yard again, I think I could make several trips and move a majority of it. I was only just getting started when they closed their yard.
Okay, well, winter's coming and there may be more of a demand, and they may ramp up their operation a little bit in the coming weeks. So, all right, so Bill has suggested that we leave the enforcement order in place, which would make sense, and we'll just keep in touch. Mr. Quist, perhaps call into the office in about 6 weeks and just report what the status is on your property.
Okay, if someone could just please send me a link for the appropriate phone number and any extensions to make contacting the office easier, I would greatly appreciate it.
Okay, Jared, is that something you can do for Mr. Quist?
Absolutely, we'll make sure that we send him that information.
Okay, all right, well, thanks for calling in, Mr. Quist, and good luck with your project.
Thank you, have a great evening.
Yeah, good night.
Bye.
Okay, we're going to move on to some new business now. We have a couple of continuations requested. We had a request for determination of applicability by Keolis Commuter Services, which is the rail line, and the project location was along their right-of-way as it passes through Lowell. They've requested a continuance to October 14th, 2020. Jared, do we need a motion on that, or are you all set with it?
I think we technically do need a motion just to report it for public notice purposes.
Okay, could we have a motion to continue?
Well, so I'll offer a motion to continue the RDA to the October 14th, 2020 meeting at the request of the applicant.
Motion made, seconded by Kevin. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. The next order of business is an extension of an order of conditions and a modification requested by the City of Lowell for the Riverwalk Phase 2. And they have as well, this is DEP file number 2060773. They have as well requested a continuance to September 23rd, 2020 meeting. We have any discussion of that request by anyone? I noticed Calvin has joined us. Was this something you wanted to say something about? No one? Okay, could we have a motion to continue the Riverwalk Phase 2 request until September 23rd?
Make a motion to continue to September 23rd.
Okay, Brad, motion made.
Second.
Seconded by Bill. All those in favor, wave or?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Motion passes. Moving along, we have a request for a certificate of compliance from Hancock Associates for the benefit of Heritage Properties, DEP file number 2060778. The project location is 770 852 Lawrence Street. This is a rehab of a mill and associated work along the Concord River. And it is a request for a certificate of compliance. I know the staff has been out to the site and gave us some feedback, and I was out at the site as well today, and I'm just curious as to the extent of the landscaping that's planned along there, because to me it seemed it was not quite ready for a certificate. But who's representing tonight?
For the record, Brian Goodrew with Hancock Associates.
Okay.
And with me is Chris Peterson and Jeff Bush with Heritage Properties.
Okay.
So to address the chair's concern about the riverfront area, what we did as a part of the original notice of intent was we basically got an order of conditions with a very specific condition that we had to go out there and inventory trees. And as a part of that, kind of a replanting plan was proposed. So that was done back in, I believe, the spring of 2018. And we reviewed the plan, issued it, and essentially what we came up with for restoration activity was really a cleanup of the kind of the area from the top of the slope down to the granite wall, and then broadcast specific seed mix, wetland seed mix, and things like that. So when we were out there in June with Fran and Jared, they kind of walked the area with us, went through the stormwater management system, went through areas that had established erosion control lines, and it was discussed about removing those and things like that. So it's our opinion that we've done the appropriate measures, and that's why we're here this evening.
Okay, well, I know the inventory of the trees was a big discussion item with us originally when you first came here. There was a lot of invasives there. There were some trees that were, in bad condition. There were some trees coming out of the canal or the river wall, which was a problem. But after all the inventory was done, it was my feeling that we were still going to have a treed slope along the river. And as of right now, the section that, I believe is under heritage ownership has only 5 trees, one of which looks like it needs to be taken down now. it's in bad shape. And basically, we've got a steep slope that's being held together with a mesh. And I know it's a terrible year to try to get anything to grow. And the grass hasn't even filled in the mesh. And we haven't had rain lately, but I'm afraid that when we do, we're going to see some start to some erosion. And the whole thing with the trees was to have a root system to hold that slope together. Now, you know, I'm not set on trees, but I was hoping that, you know, some replacements were going in there. It's heavily treed further down the parking lot, which I believe is not your property. And I was hoping that at least in some fashion that could continue up past and even behind your building, maybe not trees, but some really sturdy shrubs or something like that.
So as a part of, can I share my screen?
Yes, I think so.
And I've just made you a co-host, so you should be able to do so.
Perfect. So if you look at the landscape plan that we had issued back in 2018, it was December of 2018, I misspoke. I thought we had inventoried in the spring, kind of right after our order of conditions was issued. We actually inventoried in the winter time. And the areas that are indicated by dot and cross hatching are the areas that were proposed to have that tree clearing done. There was approximately 80 or so trees in those areas, and as a part of the restoration, we had proposed wildlife conservation mix in that area without shrubs or trees specifically. More towards the canal side, we had proposed plantings and things of that nature across the front of the building, where there is pedestrians and things. And the other kind of key point that was a part of this plan was reestablishing the fencing that was in that area. There was an old dilapidated fence that ran along the granite edge of the Concord River, and that has been replaced, you know, behind the building. So when we evaluated all of the trees in the clearing, and very specifically retained the 5 that the commission wanted to see, we had also developed this plan concurrent with that. So we feel that we've kind of met the intent of what was proposed and discussed during that process.
Well, I could see where the wall is, you know, level with the fill in the back behind the building, that would be a good candidate for a grassy area. But further down the line, you know where I mean, on the edge of the detention area, you know, the detention area goes up and then very sharply down, and the river wall is quite a bit lower than, you know, the general grade of the rest of it. And that's the area I'm concerned about with the erosion. I can't see that, you know, planting would be prohibitive there. You know, where the I don't know what kind of a mix you might have put there already, but it's mostly just crabgrass that has been able to hang on. You know, this it just hasn't been a good time to try to plant grass, I'll admit that.
So I guess kind of I understand the chair's concern about erosion in that area, and we can certainly have it as a part of ongoing maintenance. It was kind of our contention that we went through the process that was prescribed by the order of conditions to inventory, have these conversations with the city, develop a plan, put that plan out there, and then complete it, and that's what we've done to date.
Okay, I guess maybe it was hard to visualize what we were talking about at the time.
Louisa,
Yes.
just a question. I'm wondering, is it your opinion, or is it, Hancock Associates' opinion that the current conditions is performing as intended, despite the fact that you got some trees that aren't, doesn't look like they're gonna probably go through another growing season. There is some potential erosion concerns, because that's my first question. Then I'll have a follow-up after that. What's your opinion on terms of the performance standard? In other words, are you meeting a performance standard, so to speak, as intended by the order of conditions?
Well, I mean, those are going to be in perpetuity. So basically, if there is an erosion issue, we have to address that. If there is kind of these graded areas behind the basin that vegetation doesn't establish itself more fully, or something deteriorates over the course of the winter and into the spring, it's on Heritage as it stands right now to correct that situation. So it's certainly not something that the commission doesn't have enforcement over, or something that wouldn't be addressed with what's out there outstanding. The COC request is specific to kind of the plan, how I had described it, and how we went through the process to develop and have approved by the city. I think we have planted according to this plan. If there are areas that are in need of sprucing up, maybe that's something that we can revisit in the springtime after we come out of the winter. But again, it's part of springtime cleanup. We're under ongoing conditions to do this work regardless. The entire island falls within jurisdiction of the commission because of the Wamasett Canal and because of the Concord River.
So Brian, does that mean that the existing or approved operation and maintenance plan that would go with a standard order of conditions has those provisions in there to maintain the integrity of what was constructed along that canal bank?
I believe so. So right now it's routine maintenance and additional plantings if erosion becomes an issue. At the end of the day, we can't discharge any sort of turbid water or sediment into the Concord River. So that would need to be addressed immediately.
All right, so where I'm going with this, just from my colleagues on the commission, is I'm wondering if we could look at the plantings or the plan along that canal as a episodic event, so to speak, and the long-term maintenance or integrity of that would be something guided by the operation and maintenance plan. In other words, by issuing an order of conditions, I don't think that the owner or Hancock Associates can just walk away and not do anything in the event that there was, degradations of the vegetation along the bank, further decay of trees, erosion, things of the like. I think they would be obligated to repair that in accordance with the provisions of the operation and maintenance plan.
Well, that's true, right? But I think what is Louisa saying, she was out there today. In her eyes, it was not sufficient. I think that's what she was saying, right? But if we have this opinion, maybe it warrants a site visit. I mean, but you had Jared out there, right? So I wasn't here for this project originally, so I'm just trying to put it together, looking at this plan and everything. That's just my thought, right, Louisa? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, I was out there today, and it basically, when you look at it, before you see the 3 trees in a clump and one somewhere else and one that's basically dead, you say, oh, wow, they took down all the trees. Whereas in my mind, there were going to be some trees still along that river.
So Louisa,
Okay, if I can ask though, who is planting the trees? Like at a certain point, there seemed to be, many trees being planted and mulching and shrubs and a variety. Is that not Heritage Properties doing that planting, or is it?
It is not. It's Pitt Pipeline. They were one of the site work contractors, and they ended up actually working outside the limit of work a little bit and worked with the City of Lowell and the Concord River Greenway landscape architect to kind of develop some sort of enhancement to that area. But that was more for the Concord River Greenway and not the site proper.
Because
which is why it looks
yeah,
the way that it does.
there's such a distinct stoppage to, you know, it's treed and it's landscaped, and then all of a sudden it isn't, you know, as you walk down the parking lot. You know, I'm not talking about as many trees as they put in there, which that's supposed to be a, you know, a park-like atmosphere, but, you know, a tree every 15 feet maybe might, you know, eventually spread their roots and even add some aesthetic to that riverbank. Right now, it looks like a canal behind the building. It doesn't look like a river just because of the, you know, the starkness of the landscape there.
I mean, if the commission is amenable to the ongoing maintenance like we had just discussed, and if we have to revisit plantings, you know, strong preference can be put in there for some trees in those sloped areas to make sure that, you know, not only are we addressing the erosion issue, but we could further the aesthetic. Again, I kind of want to reiterate the fact that we went through the process that was prescribed during the notice of intent and as a part of the order of conditions to get where we are today.
Right.
Another key point, Heritage Properties is an owner. You know, they own the apartment building, and they are apartments. It's not condos. It's not an association. So there's a certain level of pride that ownership has out here. So I'm sure that we will be able to address these should there be any you know, any issues.
So, notwithstanding the issue that Louise has brought up about the slope, which I hadn't really thought about, I was also out there, you know, given the condition of a few of these trees in the minimal amount of trees that were allowed, and you know, I'd like to look further into exactly how that slope was treated as well, but I wouldn't feel comfortable treating this as a finished project, you know, worthy of being granted a certificate of completion. I think that there are trees that need to be replaced, and for that to happen, the planting plan should be alive and well, and they're not yet. I don't feel comfortable granting a COC at this time.
Maybe
you know, we can highlight a couple plants specifically, but the health of the landscaping is a concern here, and you know, with the slope aside, I still don't, I'm not happy with the way that we are left with these plants. And I know that if a COC is granted, it becomes more of a maintenance issue instead of a real construction project, finishing a construction project properly. And it is never treated as well in the end, you know, in a maintenance plan as it would be if we demanded that it's fixed to our standards. That's my
Is there a
opinion.
survival rate in the order of conditions or anything like that?
We normally look for 2 years for the plantings to be alive and well.
So here's a suggested compromise, because I can appreciate, and I frankly haven't been out to the site, so I certainly would defer to you, Louise, of being out there, eyes and ears, and along with Jared, whoever from the city was out there. Yeah, I agree, Brad. It makes more sense you get more things done up front, but I don't want to. I'm empathetic. I would speak to the holding the project idle in terms of getting a COC for a 2-year season. I think what we could do is maybe say what we want done up front before issuing the order of conditions, and just making sure that the provisions in the operations plan are stringent enough that, after, assuming the plantings are done to, any sort of other rework along that area is done to our satisfaction, I would defer anything further on that to operation and maintenance plan. And that way, we're not waiting for 2 more years before issuing a COC on this project. I'm just suggesting that as a potential compromise.
I don't hate that idea. I personally have no problem not granting a COC for 2 years. I don't think it really makes a real difference, other than we are guaranteed the level that we absolutely expect for development, especially something in an area like this by, a major developer that's building right on the river. This is right around a bunch of city work that is focused on the way that we as a city want for this river to look, and so it is critical. I drove by the Heritage Property Island on at Aiken Street on the boulevard, and if that is a representation of how the name gets maintained through operation and maintenance by adopting an island, the neutral ground, the median strip, it's not, certainly not what I want this place to look like. And so I'm not confident in the operation and maintenance plan. I'm just not.
Do you have any more comments on this particular issue by anyone?
Yeah. So it sounds like there's concerns that are outstanding. Obviously, if we could specifically let Jared and Fran know which trees are of concern, potentially we could walk the site again with staff and see if there's a medium. Unfortunately with Zoom, there's not a real easy way to sidebar with my clients, but maybe we continue to the next hearing and we work with staff and see if we can't find some middle ground, but to get this resolved.
Okay.
That might be a good approach, Brian, because hearing the discussion, I too, to be clear, I'm empathetic. I'm trying to find a compromise, but I certainly, for one, also would not want to grant a certificate of compliance tonight. So, but I'm also just trying to think through the project in the long term. So I think that might be the most prudent course of action, is to continue, give you a chance to chat with the applicant, and then we have a further discussion, and maybe we do a site visit in the interim.
I'd definitely like to meet on site. I don't know what the policy is exactly about, a quorum of commission meeting out there, talking with the client. Jared can advise us. I'm happy to go out there. I want to look through these plans together, there, and go through Louisa's concern about the slope as well. We try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. There's no reason why, we can hack through theoreticals. I agree on the Zoom meeting all day, but we finish a construction project by going out there and telling you what's wrong. So I would support that idea. Whatever it takes, Jared, I will be there if I can.
Okay, I think looking at the site in person certainly makes it a lot easier to explain what might need to be done. I'm not thinking that the extent of landscaping that's taking place further downriver is what we're looking for, but I think if we just taper off that landscaping rather than have such a direct stop like the forest and then the desert. So
there is going to be a bridge there.
Yeah, okay, that'll help. All right, well, if you want to request a continuance then until our September 23rd meeting, we can have a motion to that effect.
So with
Anyone-
that, I'll offer a motion to continue this request for certificate of compliance to the September 23rd, 2020 meeting.
Okay, motion made by Bill, seconded by,
Second.
I didn't see who that was on
Brad.
Brad. Okay, all those in favor, wave or say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, Mr. John Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along on our agenda, we have a request for determination of applicability sent by Hey Kim, 6769 Pratt Avenue. And it's a request to construct a deck within bordering land subject to flooding. This is the Middlesex Village area. We've got several projects tonight in this particular neighborhood. I did take a peek there. I didn't find anybody at home, but is Mr. Kim with us? Or perhaps Miss Kim, I'm not sure.
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us what, where you want to put your deck and how it's going to be constructed? Is it going to be ground level? Is it going to be up in the air or what?
We have a side deck right now that we just wanted to reconstruct. It's just falling apart, like the wood and stuff is falling apart. So we wanted to reconstruct the deck that's currently there.
Okay, and is that it? I don't think I saw the deck. Is it on the side of the house?
It's on the side of, yep, on the side of the house towards the back.
Okay, all right. I thought your proposal was right at the back of the house. I understand now. All right, so it's a reconstruction of a deck.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and do you have to take it completely down and completely reconstruct it again the same way, or are you going to make changes?
Make some changes, I think.
In what way?
Honestly, I'm not even sure.
Gonna like level this.
Make it more level.
Okay, so is it going to be a set of stairs going up to it, or?
Yep,
just-
there's on the first level right now, there's a couple of steps upstairs, but then for the upstairs, on the second floor, there's like a longer set of stairs that lead to the deck on the top floor as well. It's connected together.
Okay, so the whole thing will be reconstructed.
Yes.
All right. Well, I have a different idea now, since it seems to be the same deck reconstructed. Bill?
Just the only other question I have related to that is, you intending to reuse the same footings?
How is it going to be?
I think a little bit longer.
They're like 12 by 16, 12 by 16. Right now we don't
Yeah.
know.
In other words, you're going to be doing any further digging to put in like a new footing, or you reuse the existing footings and just put the post on top of the existing footings and then redo the wood?
Yes, I think what you just said.
All right. So if I understand it correctly, there's no digging.
No, not that I know of, no.
Okay. Thank you.
She's also said that she's going to make it bigger.
Okay, how much bigger is it going to be?
No, I don't know. It's like 12 by 16. Is it about the same size we have now? Or what?
I don't know what size is it now.
So what we're getting at is we'd really prefer if, so there's the deck, right? And the deck sits right out the back door of your house. And then there's the wooden posts that come up the corners of the deck. And those posts sit on concrete, big blocks of concrete in the ground. We really don't want you to make new concrete in the ground and dig for those. We'd like for even if the deck increases in size, and you can do that by just not making the post at the corner of the deck and, building it in a little bit, to use the existing concrete footings that the deck is already built on. Does that make sense?
They don't want us to put a new post?
I think so. Yeah.
No
digging.
No digging
I
and
don't
no new concrete.
Right.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay. that's good. So that's something out of the way. That's the answer to the first question that Bill was asking.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason for that is since part of the project's within the bordering land subject to flooding, you can't have any loss of flood storage capacity. So no digging and filling. You know, you got to have that net same result, which is why if you're doing no digging, it's neutral, you know, with respect to the potential floodplain impacts.
Right, right. Okay.
Okay, so this appears to be a replacement. Does anyone else have any more questions? And if not, are we ready to make a motion on this?
What are we looking for here?
Yeah, I'm ready. If folks, I would offer to a motion to issue a -3 determination. Now that we got clarity on the scale and the scope of the project, I don't see this as having any adverse impact on the resources in question.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Bill, seconded by Brad. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Kim.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Oh, hi.
Okay, moving along, we have another request for determination of applicability presented by Marchionda and Associates for Christopher Karabatsos. The address is 48 Eleanor Drive, and it's a request to construct a deck and a carport within bordering land subject to flooding in the 100-foot buffer zone to vegetated wetlands. I was also out at this property. It's a very neat and developed property that you know, has a fence on all sides but the front, and just over the fence is the wetland vegetation, alive and well and thriving. And it looks like the proposal is not going to impact the wetland at all, in that it's going to be constructed over a current driveway, a paved area. I think the resources, Clay Pit Brook is actually a little further away. It looks like the wetland might be in part created by the storm drain at the end of the street. But there is a brook eventually, and I'm not sure of the you know, the number of feet away that he is, but that's the situation that I saw. And is someone here representing Mr. Karabatsos?
Hi, my name's John Barrows. I am an engineer with Marchionda and Associates.
Hi, welcome.
How are you?
Could you tell us about the construction and
Sure. Well, I think as you explained, the proponent wants to construct a 10 by 20 carport. The carport is going to be placed over existing pavement. They're planning on using helical posts to support the carport, which I think if you look on the last page of the request submission, it kind of gives you a little picture of what a helical post does. It's basically screwed into the ground until you, you get to a point where it supports the structure. They're also proposing to put a wood deck behind it that's at the level of an existing three-season porch. That would be a typical open wooden deck with stairs down to the back lawn area. There's presently stairs coming off of the existing three-season porch down to the driveway. Those would be reorientated to go off the back towards the the lawn area in the back of the property. And the proposed deck is approximately 10 by 12 in size.
so it appears that no trees are going to be taken down in order to construct this. Is that correct?
That's correct. The carport is actually going to be placed on top of the pavement. They're going to use the existing pavement as the surface for the carport, and the new deck is in a manicured lawn area.
And it also appears that perhaps the entire wetland area is off the property anyway. Is that correct?
That's correct. If you look on the proposed plan in the request package, you can see the wetland flags that were flagged by Norris Environmental.
Okay. Questions from the commission? What's your pleasure on this one? I didn't see that this would be a concerning feature to be next to the wetland. The wetland is thriving. There's all kinds of vegetation there. You need a machete to get through it.
Yeah, I don't take any exception to this project.
Me neither.
Yeah.
So do we have a motion on this particular?
Make a motion to grant a -3 determination.
Motion made and seconded by Kevin.
Sure.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. Barrows.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
You too. Next on the agenda is another request for determination of applicability sent by Waldemar Polito. The address is 140 Swan Street. And this is a request to construct a deck and a shed. And I believe a fence is part of the request as well, although it's not in on our agenda here. I was at the property today around the outside of it, not on it. And it appears that the construction is well underway. Mr. Polito, what's left to do on your project?
I just did the shed. I just replaced the shed. And we decided to do platform, but we did another roof on top. We call a deck next to the shed.
Okay. Now I do understand that the shed, perhaps if it's approved, doesn't meet the zoning setback. Is that something that can be moved easily? Does it have a foundation or?
No foundation. He's on the block concrete.
Okay. So it's not really our say as to that. That's a zoning issue, but it could be that shed might need moving a bit.
Yes.
The fence that's there is the fence that you are asking to construct. Is that right? The fence is up.
No, I just replaced the fence. It's the old fence. It was a wood fence. We just make a new one, a plastic one.
Yeah, it's up. It's already constructed, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The wetland in question near the shed is, the commission may remember, Bigelow Street, where we had a family that wanted to construct or had already constructed a garage like right on the edge of a very tiny stream.
Mm-hmm.
And we gave them permission to leave it there because the stream seemed to be well contained. So that's the next door neighbor to this particular property. So it's the same small stream. I didn't really have a concern about this particular shed. However, on the other side of your property, Mr. Polito, you have another wetland between you and that condo project.
Mm-hmm.
And while we have you here in person, you do have a lot of concerning things on the edge of that wetland. I saw a pile of loose gravel, perhaps that you were using to make a driveway. And there were a lot of construction pieces that were right on the edge of that wetland that really need to be pulled back.
Okay.
I wasn't really looking for anything further, but I was on my way to another property and just noticed it. So, you know, that wetland as well needs your protection. And
Okay.
if you put things right on the edge of it, sooner or later, some of them fall down the slope and into the wetland and cause trouble. So that
I just put the pile out there. I want to close to the street because always the water just come and get in my way. So I don't want the water coming. So I don't know, the pile of gravel out there is the problem out there. You have to remove it.
Well, the concern I would have is that I noticed your slope of your driveway was eroding. You can tell the water's going down there. But my concern would be that all of that sand ends up in the wetland and fills in the wetland, and then it causes trouble for people on the other side or even for yourself. So there may be a way to put a small curb or something there to keep the water from running down. I don't know.
Okay.
But some of that material that you've stored in the back there next to the wetland needs to be pulled back. But
Okay.
Getting back to, you know, your present request here, what's the commission's questions or comments on this?
I just think it was hard from the figure to kind of get a sense of how far from the resource area the shed was going to be constructed, you know.
Yeah, well, it's very close to that little stream, probably maybe 20 or 30 feet. But it's certainly further away than the next property where we allowed the garage right on the edge of it.
Okay, so we don't have any inconsistencies with a no-build zone.
This is an older house. This is an older home. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, certainly the scale of the project, you know, I'm not concerned about. It just has more to do with just being consistent with you know, no disturb zones and making sure we're consistent with what was done in the past. But what I'm hearing is this wouldn't be any it wouldn't run counter to what we've already agreed to on the next door abutting property.
Did you say you had a shed there that you're replacing?
Yes.
Okay.
So you said the deck, the shed would be on concrete blocks. How do you intend on constructing the deck?
With the concrete block too. So it is nothing. I don't dig anything. I don't.
Floating.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if it's all floating, then fine.
Okay.
Okay, no further questions. Do we have a motion on this?
Make a motion to grant a -3 determination on this project.
Okay, seconded by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Polito. You should be in touch with the planning department, the conservation office in the planning department, because there was a note that they sent out about maybe the shed needing to be moved a little further back from the street.
Okay.
So I would just check with them. That's not our issue, but that's an issue. And we wouldn't want the shed to end up any closer to the stream if you do move it.
All right.
It still needs to stay as far away as it is now from the stream.
Okay.
All right, thank you for dialing in, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks.
Take care.
Next, we have a request for determination of applicability sent by Marilyn Rivera for the benefit of Angel Irizarry. The address is 38 East Aldea Street. This is a request to construct a 20 by 10 foot shed on bordering land subject to flooding. I think we've been given quite a few, you know, plans of this and photos. It does appear to be a replacement shed for two that were there, and now it's become one. It does back up to a couple of, or at least one neighbor's shed. And it's a situation again where it may or may not have been legal. Originally, we don't know that. But they're now asking for permission to finish the shed. It's half finished. Ms. Rivera, I noticed you're here with us. Would you like to say anything about the project?
Hi, yes, thank you. It's just the shed would require permission. So
We're having trouble hearing you. Sounds like you're
Oh.
drifting back and forth away from the mic.
I'm so sorry. Just that it's a replacement of the previous shed that was there.
Okay, is it a little taller than the previous one or just about the same?
It's about the same.
Mhm.
We're actually going to shorten the height of it because I know that it was brought up when they came over to take pictures.
Okay. All right, and it is on blocks, cement
Yes.
blocks, is that correct? Okay. I thought it was a reasonable request in that it seems like every house in the neighborhood has a shed. And on blocks, I'm not too concerned about it, you know, becoming a permanent structure and taking up space in the floodplain.
I agree.
Motions or?
I'll offer a motion to issue a -3 determination for this project.
Seconded by Weston.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Rivera.
Thank you so much. Have a great
You
night.
have permission to continue with the shed.
Thank
Kind of
you.
Kind of a quick sidebar, just as a question for you guys. How do you think about sheds and their ability to hold or, you know, keep water out of the flood zone as an entire like cube structure? Are we really only thinking about the floor deck and the walls? Is that what it keeps water? Like we don't treat it as a watertight block, do
Well,
we? How do you think about it?
we have to be careful with house foundations. The shed, I think I usually consider that they're not watertight. There is a concern if it's a floodway of a shed breaking loose and floating away and causing destruction to property. Weston?
Nope, go ahead. I was just thinking.
Brad, what's the context of it? Thinking of it like, you know, a shed being a structure displacing water within a certain volume?
Yeah. Obviously, once you get into concrete, you're talking about something different, right? The houses would be designed for, you know, wet or dry floodproofing or whatever you want to call it. But a shed, you know, they're not going to be watertight, and we know this. And I was just picking brains to make sure that we were thinking about it the same way, or thinking about it at all, or not worrying about it. Just I don't know.
I think, and Louisa, you could probably talk better this than I could, but I just think there have been examples, Brad, where, you know, because of the concern of an above the ground structure becoming a projectile, you know, potentially, that if to put that in there, you have to do excavation and put in footings, and you're in a 100-foot floodplain, you don't have areas for flood storage capacity.
Yeah.
We've been very stringent saying that ain't gonna fly, just because, you know, A, you got to put in footings, you know, and dig into the floodplain and displace soil, and you know, B, you know, in some cases, you know, the area where you're looking to put it, the water level rises so high historically that you would be concerned about, you know, this thing becoming dislodged and floating somewhere and causing damage somewhere downstream.
Good. That works. That was more information than I expected, but I'm glad that I asked.
No, I mean, we've talked, particularly that whole Pawtucketville area, it's been an issue where we look at everything to the
Yeah,
nth
sure.
degree there.
Yeah, of course. Okay, cool. I'm
Okay.
satisfied.
Ready to move on. We have a notice of intent presented by Meisner Bren Corporation for Talage LLC, doing business as Melmar Properties LLC, or representing, it gets very confusing, but they're all listed here, and the DEP file number is 206-0802. The location is 4 Tamarack Street. The notice of intent is to extend Tamarack Street and construct a single-family home in a vacant lot. And the lot is located fully within the 100-year floodplain. So we did have a set of plans. Mr. Brown, you're here representing tonight, are you?
Yes, but hello, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Wynn with Meisner Bren Corporation. May I introduce to you John Cox first, who's going to introduce the project, and Martin Burke is also on the line, my client and property owner. Go ahead, John.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Chairman. John Cox, Attorney John Cox, 375 Gorham Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. I represent Mr. Martin Burke of Lowell, who through one of his businesses owns a property at Tamarack. Kind of an exciting development, attempting to extend Tamarack Street down off of Princeton Boulevard down to a vacant lot, some 140, the paved street will go another 140 feet down Tamarack. There's, like I said, a vacant lot there, and the hopes are to build a single family home there. We have talked with the city really over the summer. The city has pointed out several things. Obviously, one of the most important is to come before the Conservation Commission for a notice of intent for construction in a flood zone. Obviously, there are issues with the water that will be extended down Tamarack. We'll have a better water line there. We would construct a better sewer line there as well. Princeton Boulevard has recently been paved. It's under moratorium from the Mass Department of Transportation. We have spoken with them. We understand there's a process there, and we will obviously follow that process fully. But Jeff Brem is here from Meisner Brem Corporation, the engineers on the project. As you note, he has filed a very detailed plan pertaining to how we hope to handle the issues in the flood zone, and hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions this evening and get this project off the ground. So with that, introduce Jeff and let Jeff take you through the intricacies of the engineering work that he does, and hopefully answer all your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Madam,
would like to present?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I could share the screen, I think it's graphics are very important with this job. So, all right. This always happens to me. That's not what I want to share. Hold on a second. You'll have to give me a minute. I'm sorry. It should be here.
Fine.
All right, we'll try it one more time. There it is. All right. So does everybody see the screen?
We see it, but it's very tiny.
I'm going to zoom up. So first, let me locate you on Princeton Street. So here's our locus map over here to the right. And you can see Princeton Boulevard here. Here is Tamarack Street. Some of the other streets in the area that you may know are Hadley. Here's Wood Street and Westford Street. And it's at the end of Tamarack Street. So this is your location of it. As John has said, and as you mentioned, Madam Chair, the property is 100% in the floodplain. Actually, Tamarack Street is partly in the floodplain too. So here's Princeton Boulevard here to the right of this plan. Tamarack Street goes in, and right about where the K is the end of the pavement, and then this portion narrows up and becomes a dirt roadway. That's shown on the profile here. There's the paved section, and essentially this is the dirt section here. You see some filling and some cutting. It's pretty marginal, but doesn't matter whether it's marginal or not. If it's floodplain, it's floodplain, and we have to mitigate for that. The property is currently a vacant lot, just over 7,000 square feet, 7,087. It has adequate frontage area. It's basically a buildable lot. The only issues are that Tamarack Street needs to be extended, and of course, we're working in the floodplain. So in order to work on the floodplain, there's various programs that we've employed. The first is the only work really that we're doing for the property fulfilling is the foundation itself on the building. And we're mitigating that, which I'll get to in the storage component a little bit. But in the foundation, we are proposing 4 smart vents at various elevations, because as you know, if you're filling floodplain, you have to incrementally create a mitigation at its incremental elevations. So there are 4 vents, 2 on each side. These are the elevations here. Essentially, all a smart vent does is it's a hole in the concrete. It seals up the hole during times of no flood, but when there's flood, there's a hinge pin, and it opens up and allows any flood waters to go into the basement temporarily during the storm. And then they get, obviously there's no heating systems under code in the area that's in floodplain. You have to have all your heating systems above the ground, above the floodplain, and so forth. So it's just an open basement. So that's how we take care of that, and that's done several times in the city. However, as mentioned earlier tonight, the concrete itself is filling, and you've got to mitigate that as well. And so we have basically a several system program for that. First is, as you see in the rear, we have roofed infiltration drains. So the entire roof runoff is going into this Caltech system, plastic chambers, and they over drain into, and also the surface drain in this area. We're proposing our bioretention rain garden, which will obviously help mitigate the flow. It'll also polish the runoff from the site. And then that goes into these 2 chambers. And this is what's unique about this property. The flood's going to go into the chambers at a certain elevation. And these 2 storage chambers, which I believe there's a detail here. We're on the next page. These 2 chambers will store the flow. It's on the lower left here now. During that flood. And those 2 chambers, plus the bioretention, plus the Caltech, allows for us to have 100% mitigation of any flooding on the property. And that's outlined in this table right here. And as I said, some of this is in the roadway that we're losing some floodplain. Some of it's in the building wall itself. Although these small numbers, they are still numbers that we have to meet. So we have a 664 cubic feet of loss of floodplain storage. And between the rain garden and the vaults, we're having 720 cubic feet of increased storage volume at its incremental elevations. So we have a net gain of 56 cubic feet. The gain is not important. The important part is that we're mitigating for any loss of flooding. John mentioned some other work, and just so you know, we are extending the water line. There's no flood issues with that, obviously, other than working in the floodplain. There's no filling. We're extending the sewer line, same issue. There's no work. And we are putting a hydrant in, which will help improve the neighborhood. We're going to tie any properties that are not tied into the sewer. There's an existing 1-inch water line right now. The neighbors are going to get at least a 4-inch line. It's 8 inches up to the hydrant, then it's 4 inches. So that's why John had mentioned that there's sort of an improvement. At the end of this is kind of a sort of a dumping ground. There's puddles that form. So all that's going to be resolved with the construction of a house on an approved, legally permitted property. Phew, that's it for me. I'm sure you have some questions.
Yeah. Could you say the drainage out of those tanks, how is that?
Oh, very good. This drains into, it's an overflow pipe going into the street, and we are extending it with a 12-inch drain to this is the existing drain line, and we're extending that to a 12-inch drain line.
So it's going into the storm sewer?
You're correct, which is separated from the sanitary sewer.
Is that a a constant thing, or do you?
No, only
Would
when
it
it's
only
flooded.
happen when it fills?
Only when it fills. There's catch basins on the road that'll take care of it. And the other good thing that you brought up is that you see I'm maintaining a positive grade of 0.5%. At one point, I was going to create a low point, but it was so close that we were basically doing a little extra filling here so to avoid a low point. So all this flow will go down to the existing catch basin.
Oh, it's existing. So you're not, are you concerned about the level of the groundwater, and have you investigated what level the groundwater is at?
Well, as you see from the plan, the building is basically being built up from the ground. So if the groundwater is below the ground, it's just going to be in the footing.
Well, I was thinking in respect to the tanks.
Oh, the tanks themselves? No. That's a good point. I haven't done buoyancy calculations on them, but they're concrete tanks. They're heavy, and they're only in a little bit of the, let me go to that page. They start right near the surface. So a lot of the problems that you have when there's groundwater issues is when they're much lower than the surface. So it does go down about 5.5 feet.
But they're not perforated on the bottom or anything. You don't expect.
Actually, sorry, they are. This is a 24-inch core on the bottom, so at the end of the storm, it'll drain out. So they are. It's not a perforation, but there is a core.
It wouldn't be important to know whether you're going to be in the groundwater when you put those tanks in?
Well, with that core, you're not going to have that buoyancy problem because we're actually have an open bottom for 24-inch diameter.
So your tanks could be filled by a foot or more at all times if the groundwater is at a higher level, which it isn't right now, but.
That's a good point. We did check, and it's been a while since I designed this, but we did check the flood elevation of the river, and I believe it's 10 feet below. I could check that, Madam Chairman, and if you wanted to make a condition that we verified this floodplain is below 93.3 with your engineering department, we could do that.
Maybe another way to look at, Luis, I think what you're getting at, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm just trying to get clarity myself, is your sizing of this storage tank, isn't, it considers, water table elevations. Therefore, you're not losing storage capacity because of, it being partially constructed within the water table.
I understand that.
Because it's constantly draining, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you obviously eventually you want you think, when you're no longer in flood stage, the water table has got to be sufficiently low enough to allow for free drainage out of that tank into the aquifer below.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Well, I was just curious where that level was. I would think that would be important, but maybe it isn't.
No, I think it is.
Agreed.
And I also wondered about a maintenance plan on those tanks. What do you have to do to keep them functional?
They're just concrete tanks, just like basically like a septic tank or any concrete tanks that have a 30 or 40-year life. If you needed to put a condition in that every few years somebody just inspects them, they will have risers to the surface.
So you don't have concerns about siltation taking up pore space underneath and hindering the free drainage?
No, because it is. I was just pulling that detail. This is how we design this. It flows in above. See, this elevation is 101. The bottom of this rain garden is 99, so it's 2 feet above the rain garden. So I guess the only issue would be is if the rain garden filled up with silt, then it would spill into the tank.
Right.
So there's your maintenance right there. The rain garden has a certain maintenance criteria. We do have an O&M plan that we submitted, and this is the planting plan as well.
Okay. I had two other quick questions. So in terms of the outfall, you say the outfall is towards the, well, first, just to confirm, this area, that's in an area that complies with the MS4 permit requirements. It's separated stormwater and sanitary.
Correct.
All right, and Lowell allows you to connect your discharge to the existing stormwater, not required discharge, you know, on site. In other words, manage your discharge within the periphery of the site and not kind of overloading this city stormwater system.
That's what this bioretention facility is. And then when it fills up to 2 feet, it goes into these tanks and then it drains out. So the tanks are basically have a dual purpose. They are eliminating the connection to the city during the normal 42 storms a year. But during the heavy storms, when the backup of the river comes, then the flow comes in and the tanks access storage volume. And you can see that because the outlet here is raised.
Okay. And what about, I think I know the answer to the question, but let me just ask it. With respect to overall recharge area from this project, I mean, impervious surface, are you reducing, increasing, no net change in impervious surface? Surface. You know,
Sure. Well, it depends on what storm you're looking at. That's the ultimate answer to that. We're supposed to do annual recharge. It's a requirement. And we meet the annual recharge.
Okay.
As you look at a 2-year storm or a 3-year storm, obviously it's not going to, but the annual recharge is one of the 10 standards that we have to meet. We meet it.
All right. So bottom line is your no net loss, yet actually a de minimis increase in flood storage capacity with this project. You're not running counter to the city's MS4 permit requirements in terms of how they manage their stormwater. And the system is sized large enough for your typical storm and then maybe even a more intense storm. So in other words, you're not going to run into any sort of flooding area.
Yeah, we have to take, right. We have to take a ½ inch of rainfall and run it over that impervious area, make sure we meet that annual recharge.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So following up what Bill was saying, this addition of pavement is all taken into account there as far as adding impervious surface.
Yep.
Would there be any point in trying to get some pervious pavement on the site, at least for the driveways?
Well, that's why we have such an elaborate system here. I don't think we really need to because we are retaining it all on site. There's really no discharge unless there's a flood event.
And the city requires a certain width apparently for the street, is that correct? Or is that sort of a private street at that point?
It's just a city street. Go ahead, John.
Madam Chair, I think that the extension of Tamarack and then ultimately what will be Tamarack will be built to obviously the city standards. As far as Princeton Boulevard, that's a state issue. As I said, we've spoken to the state. There was a process which we are aware of, and we'll follow to get onto Princeton Boulevard. But Tamarack will be built down to the house, up to city standards. Clearly, sure.
Okay, but the pavement on Tamarack Street, you're not required to have any impact on your stormwater system. Is that correct? You don't include all of that pavement in your.
I think it's stated in their application they did include.
They did include it.
Is that right,
We did
Justin?
include. Yep, we did include this portion of Tamarack Street. Absolutely. Yep. Not the section that we're not changing.
Right, just the darker gray section.
The darker gray section, correct.
Okay, great. Now you have the rain garden pretty well set forth there as far as what your plantings are going to be and all. Are there plantings for the rest of the lot? I know it does have a few trees around the edges, but it's basically lawn area. Were you planning on planting some trees? Those are great for taking up rainwater as well.
We haven't shown any landscaping, Madam Chair, but the front of the property is pretty much taken up between the tanks and the porch and the steps and but in the back, perhaps if you were to the side and the back, if that was a condition of approval, we could plant a few trees, especially if you have a certain type in mind.
Well, something deciduous probably.
There, kitty corner to this property right here is an apartment complex. So I'm sure if there were any trees planted to kind of buffer that apartment complex from this property would be a good thing.
Well, we did receive a letter of concern about the project from the apartment owners. I think probably some buffering there would please them, since they were.
We can certainly do that, Madam Chair. We could, as Jeff said, we'd do whatever you wanted to do in that back as far as some buffering. I think that would not be an issue at all.
Okay. Well, I've come to the end of my notes. Does anyone else have questions or comments on this particular project?
Looks well done, I think.
I'm good.
So I have at least 3 special conditions, I guess, if we, let me open it up to the public first, if the commission's all set. Is there anyone from the public that would like to ask questions or make comments about this proposal on Tamarack Street? I can't see the list of attendees here anymore, so I don't know who's here and who isn't. Okay, hearing none. Do you want to close the public hearing?
I'll issue a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion made, seconded by?
Second, Brad.
Seconded by Brad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. And now, do we have a motion about an order of conditions? I have at least 3 things that the applicant has pretty much agreed with. Something about the groundwater, a maintenance plan for the tanks, and something about plantings around the backyard area, either buffering or helping to alleviate any water concerns.
So I'll offer I'll make a motion to issue a City of Lowell order of conditions, along with 3 special conditions, which one, to verify the sizing of the groundwater, of the storage tanks, considers groundwater elevations, so that there is indeed the full storage capacity of the tank. Second, an operation and maintenance plan for said tanks. And then third, to propose some sort of buffered plantings between the back of the property and the abutter.
We have no objection to any of those, Mr. Lovely. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Is there any additions or comments about the proposed motion? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Chairwoman Varnum.
Yes.
Commissioner Lovely.
Yes.
Commissioner Dillon.
Yes.
Commissioner Butenheis.
Yes.
Commissioner Downs.
Yes.
Commissioner Standish.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for coming in. You'll get that order in short order, I believe.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the board. Thank you.
Good luck with the project.
Good luck. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the comments.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Okay, next we have an enforcement order. There's some very patient people. The Raposos have been here since the beginning of the meeting. The address is 48 Perron Way, and it was concerning cutting and removing trees within the 100-foot buffer to bordering vegetated wetlands. I think we've had several conversations between the office, myself, and the forestry people, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, I believe they've talked to. And the upshot is that the trees are down. They were off of the property line onto the conservation area. There is a fairly well-defined drainage ditch. I would not call it a stream, but it's obvious that drainage goes through there in storm times. And I believe it's actually connecting to other pieces of wetland, which may be more than 100 feet from this particular taking down of the trees. So there were about 5 trees taken down. At least one of them was in tough shape and was hollow trunked. There is a little more work to do out there, but the Raposos have stopped work as soon as they got the enforcement order. And they were doing a good job of removing the downed material and stacking it up out of the way of the drainage. Mr. and Mrs. Raposo, do you have anything you'd like to say about your situation out there?
Yeah, we just, like I said, when we met yesterday, it was nice seeing you. The trees were a big concern for us because of the safety of our grandchildren. So that's the reason why we took them down. And they did fall in prior years. A couple of them have fallen in our yard, the pine trees.
You split because
So,
you know the talk on
okay,
the
go ahead.
with the problem is this. That's called the city of Lowell. Has got like a year to 2 years about the trees falling down, blocking my fence. Has got it like a circle. Silver Law told us he belongs to Draker Forces. So as called Draker Forces, he told us he belonged to the state. So as called the state guys coming from the Boston, the owner of the land, has asked him permission. He has told him as need a card, the 5 trees or 6 trees. He go like this, okay, you can do it. You have my permission. I have the letter. I have some pictures. A lot of branches falling down in my shed, my yard, broke my fence. It goes on like for 2 years. I called the city so many times, so I
They
don't know.
just gave us a runaround.
I did what I'm told to do. This was I did.
That's all we did was we thought we got the correct permissions from
I'm
the
thinking I'm doing
state,
everything the right way.
and this is what happened to us.
Okay, well, I think, you know, it appears that you did try to contact the people, you know, and now you are aware of the Conservation Commission. Should you want to do anything else in the back in your yard, even if it isn't cutting trees, building sheds, things like that, you may be within the, you know, within the buffer zone and need to come back to us.
Hey, Louise, I got a question because it wasn't just reading the material, and maybe Jared, you could answer, but it appears there's some ambiguity on the location of the trees. Do they fall within a jurisdictional area of the Conservation Commission? Are they in a resource area?
No.
Um,
Oh, sorry.
It may be land subject to flooding from the looks of that drainage ditch. And of course, this is a very dry year, so it's hard to determine the edge of wetland areas at this point, but they're definitely situated in between 2 wetland areas. And unfortunately, it's on that parcel that was set aside as conservation land when the houses were built. And I believe it may or may not still be owned by an unknown group that's disbanded. So it's caused some difficulty in in getting permissions for that sort of thing. And I was surprised that the DCR people came out. I don't know if the forest has taken over that particular parcel as far as jurisdiction. Does anyone know?
Well, I'm just asking because I look at the picture, and if that picture is an accurate representation, it looks like those trees are well outside of
I would probably agree with you, except for the fact of a very well-defined drainage, not man-made, and the fact that somebody built a small bridge over it, which tells me that at some points there's water flowing through there.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the water looks like
But we haven't seen water there in years.
it comes from sewer.
It looks like
because
sewer water.
It stinks. It stinks a lot.
Well, I think the houses on the other street are all on septic, so you know, that could be part of the problem.
We were just doing, we just did what we were told, and we were trying to clean it up. And that's all we were gonna do. We just took it down for the safety of the children because my grandkids play there. I have 7 of them, and falling on the swing set and stuff. And then we talked to John, and I talked to the DPW guys as well, and everybody just gave us a run around. Nobody wanted ownership. And now that the trees are gone, now this created a problem. You know what I mean? So I don't think it was fair that nobody wanted to help us before, but now that the trees are gone, it's a problem,
So here's what I suggest, for my fellow Conservation Commission members as a way to kind of bring this some closure for everyone.
Okay.
I would suggest moving forward, because there's some uncertainty that, we're uncertain as to whether you're within a jurisdictional area or not. I think what we're telling you, it's more likely than not you are. So moving forward, if you are to plan to do any work moving forward, you would file what's called the request for determination of applicability. And then we would look at what you're proposing to do. And if it was, for example, let's say you came to us and said, I want to remove these trees. We'd look at the RDA, look at what you plan to do. We'd say, you know what, it's within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, but the activity isn't going to have an adverse impact on the resource. So we would probably approve it with what's called a -3 determination. And that's it. You got the approval and you go ahead and do the work. I think what you're hearing is, and I'm sensing you're aware of what the requirement is now. So I, for one, would be open to ratifying the enforcement order and then rescinding it on the fact that the property owners came before us to kind of explain their case and they have a better understanding of the situation. That would be my recommendation to bring closure to this. I'm not sure if there's a need for us to ask for them to go through an RDA after the fact.
What this means,
can you explain that? What it means? Like, what do I have to do?
Well, I'm saying I'm suggesting if my fellow commissioners agree, there's anything further you have to do.
Yeah, we're just getting opinions from the other members right now. So,
right.
Anyone else have concerns?
It's not a concern so much as the conversations that we've seen with John Aziz show that they tried to reach out to the right people. It's unfortunate that he granted permission so easily, but in this case, permission was granted even if it wasn't the preferred channel. Considering the impact, whether it was a negative impact or not, minimal, I would say in this case. I'd support Bill's path forward.
Okay.
Agreed. I'm also in agreement there. I think they did try, and I think they know going forward they're aware of what they'll need to do. So I can agree with what Bill wants to do as well.
Okay, so in order to wrap this up, we could follow what Bill suggested in ratifying the enforcement order and then rescinding it, if someone would like to make a motion.
Oh, wait.
Yes.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. Does that mean after you make your vote and stuff, I can go and finish cleaning up the mess and just get rid of it,
That would be my my thinking, that you would finish the cleanup that you've started, and you seem to know what to do as far as what we request you to do. You know, they've got all the logs cut up and put in a pile, and all of the brush taken.
We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it.
And if you were to do anything in the future in that area,
I'm going to come see you.
you'd have to go to the conservation request, fill out a request for determination of applicability, and we'd have this type of conversation without an enforcement order.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We do have a couple of people with us here tonight. Would anyone else non-commission like to make a comment about this?
I would.
Go ahead.
Casey Fallon. I live on Trotting Park. I'm the one that actually called. I talked to Libby a few times. He was concerned about the 2 big pines that they cut down. We had a conversation, I think it was 2 months ago. I've been trying to find the owners. He's been trying to find the owners. He talked to John Aziz. I talked to John Aziz after this. The wetlands in my backyard, I believe it's an intermittent stream that goes through there. Aaron Clausen, 7 years ago, when I went in front of the commission for my deck, told me it was an intermittent stream. On the original plans for the neighborhood, it's an intermittent stream. I'm fine with them cutting down the trees that were a danger to their yard and anything else that's back there, but I'm more concerned with that intermittent stream. What I believe is what I've been told in the past. It's on the original plans from 2003. It was one 7 years ago. I don't know how it isn't one now. This year, nothing's running, but in the past, it runs fairly constant when there is water. Everything's decomposing. It's not, most of my neighbors are on town sewer. We're not on septic tanks. There's a couple houses on the downstream side of it that would be 400, 500 feet away from my lot that is on sewage because they are so far off the road. But my concern wasn't them cutting the trees down. There were no silt fences. There was nothing to make sure that 1 inch in rise in that intermittent stream is a couple hundred square feet in my backyard. That was my main concern. I haven't been able to get out there and talk to Libby. I haven't been around much lately, so I was trying to get in touch with him, but I haven't put that much effort in, but we have talked over the fence a few times.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be a concern, and now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know whether maybe something to. It's hard to talk about things like erosion when it hasn't rained for months.
Right.
And,
right.
Well, I think at this point they're not going to go stumping, right? So the land is disturbed, and we need to clean it up now. I don't know how, with the lack of rain, anyways, and just the logs back there, they look all intact and everything. It's a good concern to have, Casey, definitely. But I mean. Right now, I think the cleanup effort is definitely needed.
Yeah, it seems that probably some things will start growing back there, but if you do notice during a rainstorm that it's taking away some of the soil with it down into that trench, you probably need to do something like mulch or something along that line to slow down the water.
Nice. I love to put everything nice up there to make it nice and clean. This is I like to put.
Yeah.
I like things clean, be nice. Just the way I am.
Yeah. Well, keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we will.
Because I'm Portuguese. I like good stuff.
Good. Well, definitely.
He likes landscaping.
I love to work.
Does that have to stay how it is, or like I don't know what that lot's supposed to be? When I talked to John, he said that he was an unsure. I know you guys already said, but when I talked to him, he's like, "Oh, they should leave it how it is now." I don't know what the plan is or what the possibilities are for that area.
I think he means
don't want anything in that drainage ditch, so they're going to remove all the branches that might still be in the drainage.
Are you getting at some type of compensation, like shrubbery or something like that?
No.
I mean, I'm not looking for monetary compensation. I'm concerned that that ditch is going to get filled in because they cut down 5 or 7, 8 trees. I don't know exactly how many it was. I haven't walked through the lot because it's not my yard. But I'm concerned that there is going to be a lot of runoff. There is going to eventually, maybe not 2 years, maybe not 4 years, but once all that stuff starts dying and letting go of the soil, that my yard's going to fill up. I'm going to have a swimming pool in the backyard where, I mean, it's already pretty wet, but it's just going to get wetter and wetter and increase my wetlands. My neighbor, 5 houses down there, they just came in front of you, I believe, to split their lot to see if they could put a house in. And now the wetlands is going to get closer to what the foundation was supposed to be for that house. I mean, there's a lot of concern for safety and well-being of me and my neighbors.
Right.
Excuse me, can I just say something? I lived here for 15 years. I've never seen that little brook behind Louisa that we showed you when you were here yesterday. I've never seen that get full. I never in 15 years. So I really don't think
Almost not have no water.
Yeah, it's very dry right now. You've seen it. There was nothing passing through there. All I want to do at the end of the day is just go back out there, clean up the branches and the wood, I mean the tree stumps, and that's it. There's nothing else for me to do out there. That's all I wanted to do.
Okay, well, I think Casey and the Raposos as well, perhaps the thing to do is to just keep an eye on that. If you could, you know, go out there and walk that intermittent stream every once in a while. And if you see a problem that there's a blockage or something, you could probably fix it with some very simple tools.
Sort of dredge it, almost not bringing a machine in, but with shovels or something.
I wouldn't propose dredging anything. That sounds a little extreme. But
I don't know the proper terminology. I apologize.
Yeah. Even leaves can, if there is water, even leaves in the ditch can stop the water from flowing. So, you know, if I were you, I would occasionally walk through there. I have a similar situation on my property, and just removing some of the leaves every once in a while keeps everything flowing.
Yeah, with I want to tell you, right now, the drains, it's more clean than before. I'm the one clean the whole thing. I take up a big mess up there, broken trees, broken.
But we don't want us to have the soil disturbed excessively.
Yeah,
not digging particularly, because that just...
I don't dig them up. I want to clean like the broken branches. You have a lot of stuff inside, so I clean everything and leave everything the way it is.
Leave it nice.
Only clean.
I mean, between the two of you, if Casey does the upland side of it and you do the rest of it, just walk through there every once in a while.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Libby, we can get together across the fence and talk about this and figure it out. I'm glad you got the trees down so your house and your kids are safe.
Thank you.
So if there is a concern that comes up again, certainly call the conservation office, and someone will try to take a look at it and see what can be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right now I know the way.
Thank you very much. Sorry to cause trouble for you guys.
That's okay, man. Thanks.
And the take-home message is, if any further work above and beyond this project in the future is done, you should reach out to the Conservation Commission's agent and request for a determination of applicability, so we can have this discussion outside of having it in the context of an enforcement order.
Okay,
Awesome.
absolutely.
That's the idea.
And I just want to thank you. So we'll go out there tomorrow, and he might hear us, Casey might hear us, but we're going to clean it up.
Right.
Oh, no, the sound's fine. It's. I was just concerned with the creek, or the stream as I call it, getting clogged. And I wish I could have talked to you before this, but when you guys had the crane taking everything out, not that it was too late to talk to you, but you guys had already started. I didn't want to stop you. So
that's okay.
So with that, if you folks are okay with this, I'd like to offer a motion to ratify the enforcement order.
Okay, a motion to ratify, seconded by Brad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
All right.
Motion.
And in light of the discussion we had at tonight's meeting, and understanding that the Raposos understand what needs to be done moving forward, should they plan to do any future work on their property, I'm offering a motion to rescind the enforcement order.
Okay, motion to rescind, seconded by Brad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah. Thank you. So the enforcement order is a thing of the past now, and any future work out there or any problems, Conservation Office would like to know about it. So thank you for your patience and waiting until the end of the meeting. Like
Very much. Have a great evening.
You too. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, next we have only the minutes of August 12th. Does anyone have a issue with the minutes or want to make a motion about the minutes?
They look good to me. I mean, I'll offer a motion to approve the minutes as written. If
Okay, motion to approve, seconded by Kevin. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. That's the end of our agenda. Do we have any other business that we need to bring up at this point? Okay, with that in mind, we need another motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Yeah. Second.
Seconded by Brad. Thank you very much, and
Go Celtics.
good couple of weeks. We've only got 2 weeks now.
I like it, Kevin. I
Oh,
like it.
Celtics tonight, something important.
Yeah.
It's
All
not
right.
going to be.
Tell what's
They're,
going
they're
on.
not seeing this on the TV tonight, so no spoilers.
All right. Take care.
Good
All
luck.
right, bye guys. Take
Bye,
care.
everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you, Jared.